4 University of Idaho students were mysteriously stabbed to death in a house near the Monroe, Idaho campus. More than 6 weeks later, a suspect was identified and taken into custody. The 4 slain students were Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, Zana Knodel, and Kaylee Gonkovs. Court documents, including an 18-page affidavit released on January 5th, revealed how police zeroed in on their suspect, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University, located less than 10 miles away from the University of Idaho. In this video, I will cover the timeline of key events in this case so far. On the night of Saturday, November 12th, Gonkovs and Mogan, lifelong best friends, went out to the Corner Club bar in Moscow, according to Moscow police. Meanwhile, Chapin and Knodel, who were dating, went to the Sigma Chi house Saturday night. 2 other roommates, who survived the attack and are not considered suspects, also went out in Moscow that night. On Sunday, November 13th, at about 1:40 a.m., Gonkovs and Mogan were seen on video at Grub Truck, a local food vendor, and used a private individual to get a ride home. Getting back at 1:45 a.m., police said a man seen in surveillance video at the Grub Truck and the person who drove them home are not considered suspects. Chapin and Knodel got home at about 1:45 a.m. Chapin did not live at the house but was sleeping over with his girlfriend. Police believe the awful event unfolded between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Knodel got a DoorDash order at the house at about 4 a.m. One of the surviving roommates said she woke up at 4 a.m. from what sounded like Gonkovs playing with her dog. A short time after, she heard someone she thought was Gonkovs say something to the effect of, "There's someone here," the document said. But that could have been Knodel on her phone because records show she was on TikTok at about 4:12 a.m. The roommate said she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. The document said she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Knodel's room. The roommate then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." The roommate said she opened her door again and she heard the crying, and she saw a man in black clothes and a mask walking past her. She stood frozen and in shock. She didn't recognize the man, who she said walked towards the house's sliding glass door. She described him as 5'10" or taller and not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. At about 4:17 a.m., a security camera less than 50 feet from Knodel's room picked up sounds of a barking dog and distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. On the morning of November 13, the 2 roommates called friends over to their house because they thought one of the victims on the 2nd floor had passed out and wasn't waking up. At 11:58 a.m., a 911 call from one of the roommates' phones requested help for an unconscious person. Responding officers then found the 4 victims. Authorities said they do not believe anyone at the house at the time of the 911 call was involved in the incident. After the bodies were discovered, authorities reviewed surveillance video and saw the suspect's white Hyundai Elantra go to the victim's house 3 times before entering the area for a 4th time at 4:04 a.m. Police said they traced the car's travel that night back to Pullman, Washington, where Coburger lived. Coburger's phone was tracked heading to Moscow before the attack, but the phone was off from 2:47 a.m. to 4:48 a.m., which is consistent with Coburger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide. He also returned to the area of the house where the 4 students were killed just after 9 a.m., about 5 hours after the incident occurred. His phone was near the victim's house at least 12 times before the killings, at least as far back as August, according to the affidavit. All of those times, except for one, were late at night or early in the morning. On Thursday, November 17th, autopsies were conducted. They determined all victims were stabbed multiple times. The 4 students were probably asleep when attacked, and some had defensive wounds. Police added there was no sign of SA. On Monday, November 21st, the family of 20-year-old victim Ethan Chapin held his memorial service. Chapin, a triplet, was born right before his sister and brother, who also attend the University of Idaho. Chapin was one of the most incredible people you'll ever know, his mother Stacy Chapin told reporters before his memorial service. The 20-year-old lived his best life at college, his obituary said. He laughed continuously, he smiled when he woke up and was still smiling when he went to bed. He was kind to all and a friend to all. On Monday, November 28th, in an interview, Gonkovs' father, Steve Gonkovs, said that the students passed away quickly, so an earlier 911 call would not have saved their lives. Nobody suffered and nobody felt like that kind of pain, Steve Gonkovs said. The grieving dad said he's feeling a little defeated and frustrated by the lack of transparency from police, but still supports and trusts the law enforcement officers who are diligently working on the investigation. I have to assume and hope that this is all part of their plan, and they've got all this figured out, he said. I know that there's some really good, hard-working guys and girls that are on this case and that I've met, and they looked me in the eyes and told me straight out that they're working and they're doing everything in their power. On Tuesday, November 29th, Moscow police had asked the authorities to look out for white elantras, and on November 29th, a Washington State University police officer searched cars that matched that description at the university and found one registered to Coburger. On Wednesday, November 30th, grieving families and classmates gathered at the University of Idaho for a candlelight vigil. Ethan Chapin's mother, Stacy Chapin, cried as she told the mourners, "We are eternally grateful that we spent so much time with him. That's the most important message that we have for you and your families, to make sure that you spend as much time as possible with those people, because time is precious and it's something you can't get back." Madison Mogan's dad, Ben Mogan, said his only child was a hard worker, nice to everyone, and smart and funny and beautiful. Kaylee Gonkovs and Madison Mogan, inseparable best friends since 6th grade, died together in the same room in the same bed, Steve Gonkovs said at the vigil. On Wednesday, December 7th, police announced to the public that they were looking to speak with the driver of a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra that was seen in the immediate area of the victim's house early on November 13th. Anyone with information on the car was asked to contact the tip line. On Tuesday, December 13th, as the 1-month mark hit, Moscow Police Captain Roger Lanier said police are closely guarding the information that we've discovered at the scene and our investigative information, because we want to protect the integrity of this investigation. But he promised this investigation is not cold. We get tips every day that are viable. Those tips help us to do everything from clear people to further some of the theories that we're working on, he said in a video statement. Eventually, we're going to narrow in on exactly what happened and who did it. On Friday, December 15th, as police in Idaho searched for answers, Coburger was stopped by Indiana police for traffic violations. After Coburger's semester at Washington State ended in December, he and his father drove across the country together to the family's Pennsylvania home. His attorney, Monroe County Chief Public Defender Jason LaBar, told ABC News, They drove the pre-planned road trip in the white Hyundai Elantra that authorities said they were looking for. Coburger and his father were stopped twice on December 15th while driving east of Indianapolis, both times with the younger Coburger in the driver's seat. They were first stopped by the Hancock County Sheriff's Office for speeding, and then 9 minutes later by the Indiana State Police for following another vehicle too closely, according to officials. After Kohberger's arrest, the Sheriff's Department and State Police said there was no information at the time on the suspect in the Idaho crimes or specific information on the white Hyundai Elantra. The State Police added, the trooper, having learned the two had been stopped minutes before by a deputy from the Hancock County Sheriff's Department, who he knew was working just down the interstate from him, used his discretion and released the two men with a verbal warning. On Tuesday, December 27th, authorities said DNA from the suspect was recovered on a knife sheath left on a victim's bed. Police recovered trash from Kohberger's parents' house in Pennsylvania, and a lab determined the DNA from the trash was the father of the person who left DNA on the knife sheath. On Friday, December 30th, Coburger was finally arrested in Pennsylvania's Pocono Mountains in the early hours. The family of Gonkovs said they don't know Coburger and are happy, relieved and thankful there's been an arrest. Moscow Police Chief James Fry said, no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process. On Tuesday, January 3rd, Coburger, who was arrested for 4 counts of first-degree murder and burglary, agreed to be extradited to Idaho. During his court appearance in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, Labar said in a statement his client is eager to be exonerated of these charges and looks forward to resolving these matters as promptly as possible. On January 4th, Coburger was extradited from Pennsylvania to Idaho. On January 5th, the Idaho State Court released documents that revealed never-before-seen details of the police investigation. As Coburger made his first court appearance in Moscow the same day, Kaylee Gonkovs' parents stared him down as he entered the courtroom in a bright orange jumpsuit and no shackles. Charges were read for the murders of each student. The judge said each victim was stabbed and murdered with premeditation, with malice and with forethought. Families were overcome with emotion as their child's name was read. The judge asked Coburger if he wants to represent himself or have a court-appointed attorney, and he calmly replied, I have court-appointed counsel. On Wednesday, January 11th, classes finally resumed at the University of Idaho for the first time since the suspect's arrest. Ethan Chapin's siblings, also Idaho students, returned to campus on Tuesday. Hunter was very glad to be back at the fraternity, and Maisie was warming up to the idea, but it was so good to hear all of the girls squeal with delight upon seeing her, their mum, Stacey Chapin, wrote on Facebook. It did this mama's heart good to hear it. We've spent the last 8 weeks, beside the obvious, focusing on Maisie and Hunter. Cards, talks, walks, hikes, tears, you name it, she wrote. Their job now is to just be kids. The court hearings for this case are ongoing, and the families of the victims have yet to get the closure they deserve for these awful crimes. If you found this video interesting and would like to be updated on further videos on this channel, then please do like, comment and subscribe. It really would mean the world to me. I will be following future progress on this tragic case, and I will follow up this video with further updates. Until then, take care, friends.